This month's rioting against Syrian refugees across several Turkish cities triggered President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's call for dialogue with his Syrian counterpart Bashar al-Assad. Erdogan wants to discuss a way to return the Syrian refugees who Turkey has hosted since the start of the Syrian conflict in 2011.
In this environment, the Syrians become an easy target, and the country is fed up with their presence, rightly or wrongly. And this is a very important political issue. Therefore, it is pretty important that at least a semblance of orderly departure for the Syrians who are in Turkey can be presented to the country in a believable way.
Growing animosity towards the more than 3 million Syrian refugees in Turkey, along with nearly triple-digit inflation, were key factors behind the losses Erdogan's party suffered in the March elections. Analysts say Russian leader Vladimir Putin welcomes Erdogan's efforts to open dialogue with Syria, as it could represent a loss of Turkish support for the Syrian rebels and an end to the civil war. This would be advantageous to the Russian leader as he looks to shift his military resources from Syria to Ukraine.
It's the Russian. It's Moscow who want to open a dialogue between Damascus and Ankara. But for the moment, of course, Moscow is busy with Ukraine.
But Turkey's significant military presence in Syria could be a stumbling block to talks. Turkish forces are deployed to fight Kurdish forces that Ankara accuses of being linked to separatists in Turkey. Analysts say Damascus will likely press for Turkey's withdrawal of its forces from Syria as a price for the talks.
Bashar al-Assad is dependent on Russians and Iranians, and also to local warlords, and even inside his close circle he needs to depend on other partners. So it's really he cannot, as Bashar al-Assad cannot push Turkey out of Turkish military presence out of Syria. He can only ask for Ankara to withdraw these troops and then start to talk with Ankara.
Erdogan rules out withdrawing Turkish forces from Syria, saying it's a matter of national security. Along with the riots in Turkey, unrest broke out in the rebel-held areas of northeastern Syria last week, amid fears that Ankara may be preparing to abandon the rebels. There are also concerns that a Turkish pullout could bring a humanitarian disaster and reprisal by Assad forces.
The regime come back in this area. Most of the people want to move to Turkey, and for Turkey it's not possible to welcome 4 million of new refugees, because these people know very well that if they stay under the control of the regime.
With tensions high in Turkey over the presence of Syrian refugees, Erdogan looks to Putin to soften Assad's stance on talks, which could happen in the coming weeks. Dorian Jones, VOA News, Istanbul.